everyone, and welcome to WGBS TV Live, brought to you by SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. In this, our August 11th, 2020 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including Zack Snyder's latest image of Steppenwolf. We're going to be talking about DC FanDome, and we're going to be talking about the big news about the layoffs at DC. We're also going to turn to you to take your questions and comments on any particular Superman topic you would like to discuss. And to let you know how all that works and how you can get involved in tonight's show, let me introduce you to my co-host, pretty tired, Mr. Michael Bailey. Hey, Michael.
Hey, Steve. How's it going today?
Yeah, going well. And yourself?
Doing better than some people right now, which may be kind of be seen as a terrible joke, but it's really not meant like that. But anyways, we'll get into that in a second, because this is WGBS Live. And WGBS Live is all about Superman, and therefore we want to hear from the Superman fans that are watching us live right now on YouTube. And we also want you to get into the act. So how do you do that? Well, if we don't have a whole lot going on, about halfway through the show, I can speak, I promise, we'll start taking calls. We do that very simply. You're going to need Skype. Go to Skype, find Superman homepage, message us that you'd like to be on the show. Now, a couple things. One, message us. Don't just call in, because that can kind of screw things up. Two, and kind of more importantly, if you are watching WGBS Live and listening on an external speaker, please turn the volume down on that, because we are on a bit of a delay, and because of that, things can get kind of wonky if we try to keep it up with that. But other than that, we want to hear from you, and we've got other ways to do that. And what are those other ways, Steve?
Well, for those tuning in live via YouTube to watch tonight's show, we invite you to join in and chat with fellow viewers, fellow fans, post your comments, ask questions. Michael and I will keep an eye on those comments throughout the show, so get involved. And if you want your comment featured live on screen during the show, feel free to post a super chat. All you have to do is click on the dollar bill symbol on the screen there. A slider will appear on your screen. Decide on a dollar amount you're willing to donate, and we will feature your comment or question on the screen as the show goes on over the next hour. And a huge thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. We appreciate your support. And if you want to support the Superman homepage, well, there's a number of ways you can do it. You can firstly like us, put a thumbs up, post your comment beneath. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell so you'll receive notifications whenever we post a new video. And you can become a YouTube member. There's a join button below. There's different levels of perks, and you become a member that way. Or you can head to patreon.com/Superman homepage and be a member that way and help support the show and the website as a whole. So they're the ways you can get involved. Well, firstly, on the background behind me, you can see lots of Lebanese flags. As you all know, I am from Australia, obviously grown up, born here in Australia, but my heritage is Lebanese. My parents were both born in Lebanon, and the country and the people over there have been doing it really tough lately with that massive explosion that we all saw happen there. And so I want to shout out to all the people affected by that terrible explosion. They've been going through a huge economic crisis as well as COVID, as the rest of the world has, and then that explosion on top of everything else just made things so much more devastating for the people of Lebanon. So my heart goes out and my thoughts go out to all the people, especially there in Beirut. A lovely country. I was there 10 years ago to this week, 10 years ago, my parents' home country, and absolutely loved my time there. So I really feel for the people dealing with such a catastrophic event over there.
Yeah, that was... this is going to sound weird. That was astounding to see what that explosion did. And the footage they caught of it, it's just, it was kind of heart-wrenching. And, some people wanted to make it seem like it was an attack. It was just an accident. And yeah, I'm really, it's kind of heart-wrenching also to see the what do I want to say here? Same things happening here in the United States with people protesting and seeing things going bad there. It's just 2020 is just bad. That's probably the best way to say it. And we can't at any point say, well, it can't possibly get worse. because
It just does.
can.
It just does. Yeah, so, my thoughts go out to everyone involved and impacted by that. All right, so on to the Superman side of things this week. We like to start with movie news, and Zack Snyder helped us out this week with the release of yet another image from his cut of Justice League. This time, a lower res image of Steppenwolf as he'll appear in the movie, and we have that image right here. He shared it on his Vero social media account, saying, "Just working today, pulled this out of the editorial. Sorry he's low resolution, but I've seen him in all his high-res glory, and he's a thing to behold." Quick questions: how many bips do you think he gives?
Yeah, what can you really say to a low-res image? The answer is look at Twitter, because they can definitely say a lot about a low-res image. I mean, it would be hard to look worse than what we got in the movie they released. So it's just the bar is kind of low on this.
Yeah, so it's kind of neither here nor there. I mean, obviously Steppenwolf, we saw him looking similar to this in at the end of Batman v Superman, and so we know that Snyder had a different vision to what we got in Whedon's version of Justice League. So whether it's better or worse, it's hard to say. But looking forward to seeing the Snyder Cut when it is released on HBO Max early next year. So it's good to see that Zack's just kind of keeping us, tantalized, with little bits and pieces that he releases every now and then.
Yeah, I'm sure the big stuff will come in FanDome in a couple of weeks.
For sure. So we'll wait for that. Also on the movie side of things, and this one was a long time coming, KL Studio Classics has announced that the 2006 film Hollywoodland will be released for the first time in the US on Blu-ray in later this month, in a couple of weeks. For those who aren't aware, Hollywoodland is the tale of the death of George Reeves, who starred as Superman in the 1950s Superman TV series. It all comes back around to Superman, that kind of thing. We do have Ben Affleck playing George Reeves, and his love interest is played obviously by Diane Lane, who is his fiance, or no, actually his lover, if you like. At one point, his fiance is played by Robin Tooney. It's a really good film. It's really well done. They explore the different angles of of speculation around George's death, and obviously it's told from the point of view of Adrian Brody, the actor, playing Louis Simo, a investigator looking into the death of George Reeves. So if you haven't seen this, it will be out on Blu-ray on August 25th there in the US. So well worth checking out if you haven't done so already.
Yeah, when the movie came out, I worked with a guy that lived in California, grew up in California around the time period that this film was set in, and he said it was amazing how well they got how California looked back then and how Hollywood looked. My other favorite thing about this is that Tony Mannix in this movie is played by Diane Lane. Eddie Mannix in the movie is played by Bob Hoskins, but in the movie Hail Caesar, which came out a couple of years ago, Eddie Mannix was played by Josh Brolin, who was at one point married to Diane Lane. All comes around. But it's an exceptionally good movie. Ben Affleck. I didn't see Ben Affleck except in one scene. But other than that, he kind of disappeared into the role. Adrian Brody is amazing in it. Diane Lane, Robin Tooney. It's got this amazing cast. And the best thing about it is that it doesn't fall on any particular theory. It gives you three different motives, and it lets you kind of come up with what you want in your head for it to be. And I'm going to dig that out and watch it again soon.
Yeah.
I bought it on DVD, but if there's a Blu-ray coming out, I'm definitely going to pick that up as well.
Well, the Blu-ray actually contains a new audio commentary by entertainment journalist and author Brian Reisman, who so that's a new edition that you won't get on the DVD release, which only has the director commentating on it. So, yeah, Blu-ray release August 25th. You can get the order it through our website. Head to supermanhomepage.com. All right, just quickly, still on the Superman movie front, Superman the movie will screen at a number of theaters this week in the US. The Athens Movie Palace in Athens, Tennessee will be screening the movie tomorrow night, Wednesday, August 12th at tomorrow morning, 11:30 a.m. The movie will also be screening at the Zeus Digital Theaters in Waynesboro, Virginia. And that will be at 1 p.m., 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. from today through to Thursday, August 13th. So you can get those links for tickets at our website as well.
I love hearing about the movie playing somewhere. So that's again, we keep saying it, but I'm going to keep saying it. It's really cool.
Warner Brothers today on their YouTube channel had a live... the best scenes from some of their 1970s movies, and they had Superman the movie with the helicopter saving sequence. Obviously, You've Got Me, Who's Got You, as the scene that they highlighted from that film. Other movies that were included in that 1970s bracket were The Exorcist, Clockwork Orange, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Blazing Saddles, and a couple of others that were really interesting to see some of the scenes that they highlighted in that YouTube video today.
Yeah, even today the helicopter sequence works.
For sure.
It pushed the boundaries of special effects in 1978, but even today with all they can do, it still looks really good. And then that's... It's the genius of the scene is that he doesn't just catch Lois, he catches the helicopter, which is, I think, why they call it double jeopardy in some behind-the-scenes stuff I've seen of it. So,
I think it's, who is it? Justin in the comments saying he loves your shirt, Michael.
This is the taken from that Action Comics cover. I think it was 645, somewhere around in there. It's recolored a little bit because in that it had ironically, the original cover had more of a George Reeves coloring, but this was I found this shirt and I just had to own it. So I just dug it out because I keep wearing the same 3 shirts, so trying to spice things up.
I'm wearing the war-torn one today, which, for obvious reasons, with what's happened with the explosion and also with what's happening at DC at the moment, it seemed appropriate. But, so lots of great shirts out there. Before we get into the DC stuff, quickly on the television front, Wizard World virtual experiences with all the cons and conventions having to go virtual because of COVID-19 restrictions. They're hosting a Smallville virtual experience, and you got Tom Welling, Kristen Kruk, Michael Rosenbaum. You've got who else have you got? Just grabbing the graphic here. Laura Vandervoort, Erica Durant, Sam Witwer, Alan Richardson, all feature in a free live Q&A, and it'll also be available for live video chats, recorded video messages, and autographs. But the free interactive and moderated live video Q&A with the stars will take place. Someone didn't really check their calendar, but it will also take place on August 22nd, the same day as DC FanDome. This will be at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Yep, whoops. And it will live stream via their Wizard World virtual Twitch channel, Facebook Live, and YouTube. I'm not sure, Michael, when you just adjusted yourself, you might have knocked out your microphone or your...
Did I?
No.
You can't hear me?
No, that's good. No, I can hear you. Just, yeah.
Okay, that's weird.
Just all of a sudden the sound came really weird. But, so that's something you can check out at the Wizard World virtual experience. WizardWorldVault.com is the place to go.
It's weird that that's what became of Wizard Magazine. It's I doubt most people who would go to those realize that Wizard World kind of comes from a magazine from the 90s that used to be a big deal.
That was
And they
great,
got
Wizard World.
big-footed.
A Wizard magazine.
And they got big-footed by the internet because news comes a lot faster, as we found out this week.
Yes, indeed. All right. Also, quickly on the TV side of things, Krypton Season 3 didn't happen. Obviously, the show got cancelled after Season 2, which was a real shame. But on his Twitter account, showrunner Cam Welsh shared, he goes, I might get in trouble for this, but here's the teaser for what could have been the first episode of Season 3 that they had cooked up, and he shared like a page of description. And one really cool fan and film editor, Corey Trench, put together a short video that kind of puts together what Cam Welsh had written down. I'm going to show a bit of it here. It's kind of like a animated storyboard thing that he put together. Really cool. It's kind of a little bit slow to start with, but if you want to check it out in full, head to our website. But here's just a little bit of a snippet of what he put together. There's just a little bit of it. That kid is Jor-El, as I believe, if I'm not mistaken, from the end of Season 2, who was taken or brought to Earth by Brainiac to be brought up here. So that would have been an interesting new angle on the show. So, yeah, who knows what or if we'll ever see anything come of that. But cool to see Corey Trench, their TV and film editor, putting together a short video showing what could have been the opener for Season 3.
Yeah, I mean, it seems a little mean to a certain extent. And I do apologize for the sound issues, folks. The thing you got to understand is where I am right now in my house, there's not a whole lot of ventilation, and we're in the throes of summer, and if I don't have a fan on, I'll die. So I apologize for that. No, part of me is like, yeah, that's really cool, and part of me is like, man, that's kind of mean that, he's just like, hey, this is what you could have had, but never gonna have it. Dun, 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 dun. Superman. So I still need to watch Krypton. I have just been so terrible about watching much of anything recently, but it looks like just this really fun take on the Superman legend without having Superman in it, and knowing all the people that were really just so into doing the show that it is a little sad that they didn't get their third season.
Indeed. So if you want to check out the full video of that, head to our website under the TV section. You'll find the Season 3 Krypton stuff. All right, now to the big story of the week, which only happened really yesterday, but has been a bit of a writing on the wall, if you like. AT&T, as you know, bought out Warner Brothers, or bought into Warner Brothers. Warner Media have had to restructure and have laid off a large portion of their DC editorial staff and pretty much all of the DC Universe live streaming people as well. We've seen a number of people lose their jobs, something like 60% of the people there lost their jobs, which is really tragic in any time, but especially at this time of what's going on in the world, and trying to get new jobs is really difficult with COVID-19 and everything happening there. But Editor-in-Chief Bob Harris lost his job. Senior VP of Publishing Strategy and Support Services Hank Canals lost his job. VP of Marketing Creative Services Jonah Wayland, who goes back to the days of Comic Book Resources. He started that way back then.
Yeah, I saw that name and I'm like, holy crap! I haven't heard that name in years.
Yep, VP Global Publishing Initiatives and Digital Strategy Bobby Chase, Senior Story Editor Brian Cunningham, and Executive Editor Mark Doyle are just a few. Jim Lee remains as Chief Creative Officer, but he has been removed from his publishing role. The new role will see him liaise between DC and other brands of Warner Media. It's just horrific news. Just really, they've just taken a knife to so many staff's jobs.
Yeah, so this is where I'm a little conflicted on this. Overall, it's terrible. It's always terrible when people lose their jobs. I felt this way when Dan DiDio was removed as co-publisher and removed from the company completely. I never want to see somebody lose a job. As somebody who went through something similar about 5 years ago, this isn't fun. And like you said, especially now, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of a severe economic downturn. This is terrible. On the other hand, Bob Harris's time as editor-in-chief of DC Comics, not the best. I have a feeling, through no direct knowledge, that a lot of the editorial chaos that you saw during the New 52 happened at the top. And where I'm getting that from is that if you look at when he was editor-in-chief of Marvel, and before that over the X books, things were crazy and chaotic, and he was very hands-on, and he would start removing bits of dialogue from a comic so that it didn't make as much sense. And that was apparently his way, according to some writers, of trying to tell the writer that he wanted them to move along. So seeing, I remember back when the New 52 started, I started seeing names like Bob Harris, Bobby Chase, who was a longtime editor at DC Comics. She edited most of Peter David's run on The Incredible Hulk. Hank Canals. Hank Canals is fascinating to me because, all these people, he's had like 15 different positions at DC Comics. He also scripted the first issue of Rob Liefeld's Youngblood. So apparently you can get out of such things. But you see all these names, and there's people that have been in the industry for decades. But you look at the direction DC has taken and the constant reboots and the starting a direction and then immediately or almost immediately stopping it, especially during the New 52. They announced a new Action Comics writer, and he was off before his first issue hit the stands. So, on one hand, I don't want to see anybody losing their job. I don't want to see any of the DC Universe people losing their job. I thought that was a great idea. It seems really weird that AT&T is taking a hatchet to all these portions of DC Comics while not really addressing what was fundamentally wrong with the company to begin with. So it seems like a lot of people are kind of fallout or collateral damage in all of this. So this brings up the question: what happens now? Where is DC Comics going? I mean, all of the people that were responsible for what was going on, or many of them, seem to be gone. There's no clear sense of leadership. They're bringing a guy over from esports to run the place. That always works well. And by that, I mean, look back at Marvel in the year 2000 when they made Bill Jemas the president of the company, and he came from the NBA and trading cards, and he came in and just kind of, there was a lot of interesting things going on. He was kind of a jerk online. So it's just like, you really, maybe I know nothing about the guy they brought in, but when I hear we brought in somebody from esports, my first general reaction is, oh my God, they brought a jock in to run the comic company. I mean, it's just like, there were so many other ways to do this. And it just seems like it was, I keep saying the word bloodbath. Good God in heaven. I mean, there are people who are keeping their positions. I saw that Mike Carlin is still with the company. So it's not like, and one of the staffers tweeted out last night, I'm fine in that I still have a job, but I'm nowhere near fine. So now the question becomes, what happens? Is this something where they restructure DC Comics and kind of rethink the publishing line, and we still have comics, but all of these characters are mainly IPs funneled into other parts of the company to make money for them? Or is this like the start, like this is the low point, and they're going to rise again like a phoenix from the ashes? We've been rather spoiled in terms of being comic fans that we saw the industry plummet, and we've seen layoffs, but never to this extent. This feels like the end of the golden age going into the silver age, where companies like just completely went belly up, and Stan Lee had to fire most of the staff of Atlas Comics, and it's just really weird, and it is the worst time imaginable. I mean, think about the fact that 5 years ago, a lot of these people uprooted their lives in New York to move out to California. Now they live in California during a pandemic. It's an expensive place to live, and they don't have a job. It's just horrible.
Yeah, very tough times for a lot of people there, and supposedly when you get laid off, you have to be given 60 days notice, and I believe DC actually gave their staff 90 days notice. So, they've done the right thing on that side of things, if you like. But it's just horrible that so many people have had to lose their jobs, just in general. But as a comic book fan, yeah, the question has to be asked: what does that now mean for the industry as far as DC Comics is concerned? Obviously, Marvel and Image and all these other companies are still going on and still publishing. But with AT&T being a digital company, does that mean we're going to a technology company? Does that mean we're going to be looking at a possibility of comic books print-wise going the way of the dodo and everything moving to a digital platform completely? Is that the writing on the wall?
And does it go digital for first run and then they release it? Because they've got a whole new deal with bookstores and stuff. They got a whole new distribution model. So, and that should have been like a real clear sign that something was up. That they dropped away from going through Diamond exclusively. It's just, it makes you think, what are they going to do? I mean, we were supposed to be in the throes of 5G at this point. Not the cell service,
No.
the concept. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I honestly don't.
I mean, you look at magazine publications, and that's pretty much gone now. That's been, there's probably maybe 10% of magazines still available on actual newsstands. They've all gone digital. Newspapers, it's really only the big ones that are still out there. And DC have been publishing for digital first only books. Superman Man of Tomorrow is only available digitally as individual issues, and then at a later date will be collected as a trade or whatever. I have a feeling that that's where things are going to be going for periodicals, just in general. We won't see individual issues physically at a certain point in the near future. They'll all go digital, and then they'll be collected in trade print form and published in bookshops and bookstores. But what that means for the small individual comic book stores, I think it's probably the death knell.
Yeah, months ago, when the pandemic really started, we were talking about, are we seeing the end times? And I've, been kicking around long enough to remember how in the late 90s they were predicting it, in the late 2000s they were predicting it. You can only dodge the bullet so long. And here's the other thing. And again, I am not celebrating anything here, and I am not trying to make light of what's going on, but this is how business works. I really thought that we were lucky to have this run of comics and comics culture being so dominant in the pop culture zeitgeist of the world. And I don't think it's going to go away. They were talking in the comments, is this mean AT&T is gonna sell DC Comics off? Absolutely not. Batman is a billion-dollar property in and of itself. They are not selling that. They are not going to let it go anywhere else. They're going to take advantage. You got to realize that AT&T doesn't look at DC Comics as a collection of amazing characters that have these rich stories that can be mined. They're IPs. They're intellectual properties. They're things that are supposed to make this company money. It's probably one of the reasons why they bought Warner Brothers in the first place. So it seems to me that we're in a transition state, and we won't know when the true bottom was probably till about 10 years from now, when we're able to look back and see how everything kind of shook out. We're just there's just no way we can see where things are going right now.
Yeah, it's the tip of the iceberg at the moment. So then on the television streaming side of things, does this mean the end of DC Universe, the digital streaming service? Will it be absorbed into HBO Max?
I'm wondering if it's just going to be... It'll either be absorbed into HBO Max, or it will be kind of splintered off and just be a place where people can buy a subscription to read comics. Be kind of like the Marvel Unlimited for DC Comics. They've got all that infrastructure in place. It seems like weird to just scrap that at this point. I was complaining over the weekend, as a matter of fact, that I was a little annoyed that I keep seeing people wanting to announce the death knell of DC Universe, and they've been doing that since the very beginning. It's like the doomsayers on this, and I think the problem with the DC Universe streaming service is that it came right when Warner Brothers was bought by AT&T. So it was just bad timing in terms of when they launched. It makes perfect sense that everything will be ported over to HBO Max. They have a dedicated DC Comics part of that anyways, so that infrastructure is in place. I just don't want people to lose the comics. I mean, people will pay $8 a month to read as many comics as they can. I know people who like digital comics like that, and Marvel has been able to keep that up going on for, a really long time now. I forget when Marvel Unlimited launched. But they seem to have that on lock, so it doesn't make any sense that DC wouldn't do the same thing. Again, you're mining your IPs, and this is a way to take their giant library of comics and make them available.
Yeah, that's the other side of things. It's not just the streaming of movies and TV shows, as you say. It's the comic book content that DC Universe digital streaming service offers. And if DC Universe does disappear, I'm hoping for the people who are subscribed to it that it's absorbed as is into the HBO Max service, and that doesn't just vanish completely, because some people in the comments are saying that HBO Max is more expensive than DC Universe and isn't as available as on as many platforms as DC Universe has been. HBO Max is planned to go global, so that means if it is absorbed, DC Universe is absorbed into HBO Max, I'm hoping that allows people overseas like myself who maybe want to get that content to finally be able to get that. But yeah, I hope the comic book side of things don't disappear for those people who are subscribed to DC Universe and enjoying that side of the subscription service. That would be a great loss and another kick in the nether regions for the comic book side of things.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what AT&T thinks of the comics. Brian Michael Bendis said in an interview years ago that Marvel Comics still had to turn a profit, that Disney didn't just keep it going as a loss leader. And it just seems like I'm wondering if the newly restructured Warner Brothers, which, to be fair, has broken down a lot of the barriers that Warner Brothers had in it, because Warner Brothers for the longest time were these like insulated collection of like a bunch of companies that just were known as Warner Brothers, and they had getting the Legion of Superheroes on Smallville was apparently a big deal for Jeff Johns to broker. And I'm just like, why? Everything's owned by Warner Brothers, but it's complicated. And what I'm kind of hoping is that this breaks down those walls, and that DC Direct is gone, DC Collectibles is gone. They've shuttered those departments. So that means that Warner Brothers will now go to other people to do their products. What is that going to mean? We've already got McFarlane Toys doing action figures, mostly of Batman. Though that Doomsday figure looks pretty sweet. But here's the thing about McFarlane Toys: they restock. Like when it was by Mattel, like the distribution sucked, and you would go in and like the toy people would have already cleaned out everything that was worth any kind of money or was going to be worth any money. So you just had like 1,000 Rick Flag from Suicide Squad action figures for years. I keep walking into Walmart and I keep seeing them restocking the DC figures from McFarlane. And I'm just like, hopefully this is a sign of the future.
Yeah, the DC Direct news kind of fell through the cracks in many respects. They had a range of great statues that came out based on so many different comic book covers, classics and modern covers of Superman. They had a real good range there for a number of years, and so for that to also have been shut down is a great loss, and probably means we'll get more expensive statues, if anything else, because they, like I said, have to outsource the production of those if they continue to do them at all.
Yeah, it's weird because, what we think of DC Comics hasn't existed since 2010 anyways. We call it DC Comics. It's DC Entertainment.
Yes.
That's the name of the company.
That's right.
And when it became DC Entertainment, like, everything changed. That's why starting around 2010, 2011, you started seeing more merchandise with, like, the classic Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, praise be his name, merchandising art, because for the first time the merchandising end wasn't really run by the comics company. It was run by a larger entertainment company. And it's just, I on one hand, I'm interested to see where everything's going to go. On the other hand, I looked at a friend's tweet today and said, 800 people lost their jobs, but they're dumping $30 million into a Snyder cut of Justice League. It's just, I guess that's where they think they can make their money now.
Yeah, it does make things difficult to, when you take, different perspectives on things, it makes it hard to kind of justify spending on some things and the job losses on others. But when companies need to make cuts as far as monetarily, they usually look at jobs, and sadly that has been the case in this respect. But for the time being, comic books still are available, and for fans of the Superman comic books, here is what you can read this week. Looking forward, we have Dark Knight's Death Metal #3 out this week, and you're going to love some of these covers. There's a number of variant covers available for this particular issue. There's a pretty nice Supergirl one there available this week. Black and white version of it. And then there's this one, Superman with an electric guitar.
Oh, dear God.
Why? I don't know.
It looks like the Metalopolis guy from Cartoon Network is wearing a Superman shirt.
So, yeah.
Swear to God.
Also available this week, Superman #24, and that's also available in a pretty cool variant cover as well. Then you have a number of trades. You've got Justice League of America, the Silver Age Omnibus Volume 1. Also out this week is Lois Lane and the Friendship Challenge trade paperback. This is obviously a young adult or a younger audience read, but I've had a look at a couple of the chapters. It's a pretty fun read if you want to check that out. Also, Wonder Twins, Volume 2, The Fall and Rise of the Wonder Twins trade paperback. And then DC continues the expansion of the DC Digital First publishing program with Superman Man of Tomorrow #15 now available to download. Should check this out. Venditti is doing a wonderful job writing these new standalone stories.
Yeah, I was excited to see him tweeting out a GIF of Christopher Reeve turning into Superman from Superman 3. So it's like, he likes the character. That's nice. I mean, obviously, he writes the character well.
Mm. KOWA asking, does anyone know if they will consolidate titles? Wouldn't surprise me if we saw some titles go. Well, I mean, let's look at some already have. Supergirl was finished, and I think there's been a number of others that have just had their run, conclude. So I don't know if we'll see more, but I guess the possibilities are always there.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Chase, if I'm remembering what I was reading today correctly, was part of the YA line, or was head of the YA line. So that might be going away. The guy running the Black Label, or the people that kind of shepherded in the Black Label line, they're gone. It's just like, like all of these things where DC a couple years ago were trying these bold experiments into like launching their line into different directions. I have a feeling all of that's just going to go away.
I have a feeling you're not wrong. This past week actually, the digital first 14 chapter Injustice Year Zero, the first 3 chapters, and I think even now chapter 4 have been released. I picked up and read the first 3 chapters of this and was quite impressed. Tom Taylor obviously is well renowned for his darker stories, but he said in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter that the reason behind doing a prequel to Injustice was he said he wanted to write the story about just why the Joker did target Superman in the first place and where the Justice Society went. He says he also wanted to said, I didn't feel like this was the right time for stories of a dictator Superman, and so he wanted to make sure that he wrote Superman as a hero. So this was a really good read. I really enjoyed revisiting the Injustice universe, but before everything went haywire. And if you're interested, pick up Injustice Year Zero as a digital first. Books available on the DC app and Comixology.com.
Yeah, I saw some of the pages from that. It does look like a lot of fun, especially the fight between Wildcat and Batman. That looked like a whole lot of fun, and I like that Tom Taylor is able to read the room essentially, and say maybe this isn't the time to do Dark Superman.
Couldn't agree with him more. DC also sent us some preview pages for Deceased Dead Planet number 3, which we have some images here. This is the sequel to the best-selling miniseries Deceased, and in Dead Planet number 3, which will be on shelves September 1st, we have a number of pages from artists Trevor Hairsine, Gigi Baldissini, and Rain Burrito. The names are getting harder to read from these artists. But we have a number of pages from these artists available for you to check out on the Superman homepage website. The artwork looks pretty impressive from some of these pages, and we find that the mysterious second garden has been located on the other side of the planet, and John Constantine and Swamp Thing lead a mission to investigate, but what they discover will fundamentally change everything. The road to Earth War begins.
Well, at least that seems to be cranking along still. So
it does indeed. So there's something there. It obviously seems to be doing well because we've had second and third printings of issues of this and other books in the darker universe side of things. So fans are obviously enjoying them. Now moving away from the before we look away from the world of comic books, DC FanDome. How will this be impacted by all the layoffs at DC? I mean, this is a big event happening later this month, August 22nd, a worldwide, a global event that will be taking place for 24 hours, a free event online, and DC released this teaser, which really impressed me. and I'll show you why, or you'll hear why.
And welcome to DC FanDome.
So there you have it, DC FanDome using the John Williams Superman theme.
And if you listen really carefully, you'll hear, seconds after that thing dropped, arguments breaking out on Twitter about which is the better Superman theme and why DC used it. Yeah, here's the thing. When I saw that the first time, I saw it based on the thing that had popped up on Google, because I was just searching for something and Google throws up articles. It says, haunting version of the Superman theme used to promote FanDome. And I'm like, okay, did they rejigger it? I'm like, no, they cut 3 different versions of the theme together. It's just they cut 2 different beginnings and then the main theme. There was nothing haunting about that. There was nothing new about it. This was all taken from stuff. It was just, this is why I think, to a certain extent, AT&T might be using this as a way to kind of do a little bit of what Danny Elfman was talking about back when Justice League was coming out. He's just they've got all these themes. Why don't they use them? The Superman theme is recognizable. Yes, there are people that prefer the Man of Steel theme, and more power to you. If you love that music, I'm not going to try to take that away from you. It's not my job to do that. But on the other hand, it's like when someone's just like, "What do you prefer, the Williams theme or the the Man of Steel theme?" And I'm like, that's an unfair question. You're asking me to decide between the thing that has been a fabric of my life for as long as I can remember, and something from 7 years ago. That's just, you're not. It's not going to win that fight. But why not use it if people recognize it?
That's the thing.
I think we get wrapped up in ourselves as a fandom that we think just because we want something or we don't like something or we think something should move on. I'm as guilty of this as anybody. I'm not trying to get on a soapbox here, but we just get so freaking wrapped up in ourselves that we don't realize that the general public hears that theme and goes, "Oh, Superman."
Exactly, and that's what it is. It's an iconic. So they're using a piece of music that everyone recognizes, and that's the point. It's supposed to be capturing attention, not saying this is better, this is worse, or anything like that. It's what's iconic and well known. So yeah, this event, August 22nd, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I see that they listed a number of hosts, and they've got hosts from countries right around the world. So you'll have your own event in your own language, depending on what. Obviously, if you're not from an English-speaking country, that will have a popular personality from the comic book or geek or nerd world or whatever you want to call it. They've even got a guy here from Australia who's been selected as the Australian representative. He's more of a guy that does kind of dance TikTok things, but he's obviously also a nerd that does cosplay stuff, and so they've selected him as the personality to represent the Australian panel or video that they're doing. Some comments in the comments section here about whether or not this is all pre-recorded to kind of dodge any backlash type of questions that might get asked in Q&As and things like that. Do you think that this has all kind of been already, done and then just released like it's live, doing something and then just releasing it live?
That's a good question. I think some of it will be live. I definitely think the Zack Snyder stuff will be live. But I think some of it will be pre-recorded just so that they can launch it in. I mean, I'm involved with Dragon Con here in Atlanta, and it's going virtual this year. and I'm in the midst of prepping to pre-recorded panels that I'll be submitting to the comics track. They're doing 4 pre-recorded ones, and then encouraging the different tracks to kind of go on Facebook and do their own, pop-up panels, essentially. So I have a feeling that some of it will be pre-recorded, that you'll have some content that is designed to just plug and play, and then there'll be some where they're revealing something. I'm sure there'll be like a live host for that. I think the main problem with FanDome right now is all the people that are going to have to fake being excited that work for DC. I mean, it's just, I'm sure the CW stuff has been largely unaffected by all of this. The movies have probably been largely unaffected. It's all in the comics. So they can still have their excitement about the announcements of Superman and Lois and all this other stuff. But yeah, those comics people are probably going to be like, yeah, it's great.
Well, here's some of the teaser that they also released about some of the do I have it here? The people who are going to be guests or hosts as part of this. So here is the lineup. So did you get all those, Michael?
I felt like I was looking at the Matrix. Or this is a deep cut in the movie Sneakers, when they use the box to look at code, and the code's just like streaming down. It's like I used to, like, we mean everybody. Look at all these people, and it's just like, I can't read that fast. What the hell?
So some of the names in there, and I'll bring them up for you now if I can just quickly get this selected. Take that off from there. We've got there's some of the hosts. We'll get to that one in a sec. So some of the guests, there's Jean-Lewin Yang, Gal Gadot. There's Zack Snyder, obviously. There's Tyler Hoechlin. There's a number of other guests. Nicholas Scott. There's names there. Dan Jurgens, Jeff Johns. Many others. You can see the full list. Nicole Maines, obviously, there. But and many more to come, as it says on the top there. So a lot that will be happening, and a lot of guests and people that will be available to either ask questions or being asked questions of.
Yeah, I mean, I just I think it's going to be fun. I'm actually off that day.
Cool.
So I may check some stuff out. I haven't decided yet.
It's free.
I also may be coming off of like 8 straight days at work.
So you might be sleeping
I may not
in
feel
the
like
whole day.
Yeah, I might just be sacked out because like I've been complaining and whining about for the past few weeks, my hours are extended. So instead of like working a normal 8-hour day, it's like a 10-hour day. So that'll be like 80 hours in 8 days, and I just will probably be done. So we'll see how that works.
Fair enough. And for the kiddies, there's a DC Kids FanDome, aka Kidsverse, that is a specially created mega virtual fan experience that will be a kid-friendly companion event to DC FanDome, and that can be accessed via DC Kids FanDome. You'll be able to visit the Teen Titans Tower, head to the DC Superhero Girls Sweet Justice Cafe, make your way to the Batcave, and see all your favourite animated heroes in this world made specially for kids of every age to celebrate, play, and create. And here is a little video, I think, if I've got that as well, for the kids side of things. So here is the... do I have it? DC Kids? Yeah, here we go.
The Titans Tower. It stands as a symbol of justice and as home to these guys. Now, for the first time ever, you're invited inside. Welcome to the DC Kids FanDome. On August 22nd, for 24 hours only, explore the world of the Teen Titans in a mega virtual fan experience. Play games, watch exclusive videos, read cool comics, discover all sorts of special surprises. Plus, a multiverse of floors to explore. Enter the world of the DC superhero girls. Then, ride the elevator all the way down to the Batcave. Yeah, you can explore the Batcave. There's so much to discover and uncover throughout the DC Kids FanDome. Explore for free on your desktop Saturday, August 22nd for 24 hours only at DCKidsFandome.com.
So there you have it. That's for the younger kids. Also, quickly before we wrap up, there's a at the DC FanDome, Rocksteady will be announcing their new Suicide Squad game, which they released the teaser poster for it with a target on what appears to be Superman's head, but with the little scarring on his face and the purplish type of color, it could be Bizarro.
That's entirely possible. It would be interesting if they were actually putting Bizarro in the game as a member of the team. I think it would be kind of cool if it was Superman, though, since in the first Suicide Squad movie, you know, they made mention of it. So maybe it's like this untold story where the team goes after Superman for one reason or another. But if it's Bizarro, I'd be kind of down for that. I guess it just, you know, goes back to the thing I think we're all thinking right now. Why not a Superman game?
Exactly.
That's just me.
Also, this one I thought might be interesting for you. George Newbern, who obviously we all know as the voice of Superman from the Justice League animated series, as well as other numerous DC animated universe films, lends his voice to the audiobook version of Glenn Weldon's Superman, the Unauthorized Biography. This was a really cool book that came out, where was it? 2013. This book came out, and it's a really good read. And if you're interested, you can get it still as a hardback, trade paperback, Kindle, but it's also available for audio CD, Apple, and Audible audiobook. And here's a little bit of George's voice reading.
Dreamscape presents Superman, the Unauthorized Biography by Glenn Weldon, narrated by George Newbern. And so begins the startling adventures of the most sensational strip character of all time, Superman.
So there you have it, just a little bit of George Newbern reading the book, Superman, the Unauthorized Biography. Check it out. Head to our website for the details.
Soder.
There's your Bibbo impersonation for
there you
the
go,
week.
Bankman. That's really all I got energy for this week, Bankman. I love that you asked. I tried to give you something, but I'm just done.
Well, we are pretty much done as a show for tonight. But before we do sign off, I'd like to thank everyone for watching WGBS TV live tonight. And once again, thanks to all those who who were part of the show to comment. And we love all the super chats that we received. And a big thank you to you, my tired but energetic sometimes co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey. Thanks, Mike.
Pleasure as always, Steve.
And a huge thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. And if you want to sponsor the Superman homepage and support everything we do, please head to patreon.com/Superman homepage, where you too can be a sponsor for as little as $1. You might also like to become a Superman homepage YouTube member with different levels of perks. All you have to do is click the join button below. The complete 1 hour video of tonight's show will remain available on the Superman homepage website and our YouTube channel if you'd like to check it out in full or perhaps miss part of the show. But we'll be back next week on Tuesday, August 18th for another edition of WGBS TV Live at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Look forward to talking to you then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice on behalf of myself and Michael Bailey. Thanks for watching WGBS TV Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.